Hello everyone, welcome to Benzene's YouTube video sessions. And in this video session, I'm going to talk about the anti-patterns of a backlog refinement meeting. And I'm having two parts to it. And this particular part of the video is all about the roles and responsibilities of the Agile team or the Scrum team in a backlog refinement meeting and the typical anti-patterns with respect to those roles and responsibilities. So let's begin. So in consulting, in my consulting experience, although the teams would have been coached, I typically see these things happening very frequently in a refinement meeting, and I'm going to highlight these areas that I observe, and I'm sure you will be able to connect to these, and I'm sure you are also doing the same thing in a refinement meeting. So let me start with the roles in this video. So we all know a backlog refinement meeting is about planning the future backlog, product owner planning the future backlog, ideally 2 sprints backlog, and the development team coming together to understand the upcoming sprint backlog, to gain clarity on the user stories that the product owner has captured in the sprint backlog, to talk about the feasibility of these user stories, to understand the dependencies and risks around these user stories, right? Now, why are we doing this in a backlog refinement meeting? Why don't we do all of this in a sprint planning meeting is a common question that I find. Why can't we skip a backlog refinement meeting, do all of this in a sprint planning meeting? The answer to this, or I see many of the times backlog refinement meeting being missed out and all of this happening in a sprint planning meeting. A sprint planning meeting is boxed for 4 hours, maximum 4 hours. Now, idea is to figure out how to finish the work that's been planned or how to achieve the sprint goal. Now, to achieve the sprint goal, X number of user stories should have been identified. You should have received all clarity around the user stories, around the acceptance criteria, and what's that you're trying to achieve with this particular functionality. Right now, if all of this takes part in a sprint planning meeting, then when are you going to do the capacity planning and identify who's going to do what and how long it's going to take and whether the sprint goal is achievable or not? The second part, what I've just mentioned, is part of the sprint planning meeting. All of this itself takes away 3 to 4 hours. We don't want to accept 2 objectives in a sprint planning meeting. So that's the reason we have a separate slot called as a backlog refinement meeting, which used to be optional and not optional anymore. Now, the frequency of this can be defined by you guys, by the development team, based on the needs of the project or the needs of the team. Ideally, you must have 2 refinement meetings anytime in the middle of the running sprint. Now, coming back to the roles, which is the focus of this particular video. Now, the roles that have to be part of the product refinement, backlog refinement meeting or event are product owner, must have role, scrum master, development team members, which includes the developers plus the QA team. I would also want QA leads to be part of a refinement meeting. I would love to have, or I emphasize on having the tech leads also during the refinement meeting, and any other relevant dependent stakeholders, dependent in terms of which if another team products are dependent on our products, or to understand any dependencies between user stories of this team to another team, you could have dependent stakeholders also part of a refinement meeting. Now, this is a cadence event which happens based on the needs of the team, slotted for 1.5 hours or 2 hours. Again, this is slotted. The agenda must be shared well in advance, the invitee sent well in advance by the Scrum Master. Now let's go to the product owner. Many of the times, the product owner would have prepared the sprint backlog, the upcoming sprint backlog or upcoming sprint backlogs, and would have captured all the user stories, written all the user stories with the help of tech leads after achieving tech feasibility, and captured it in your ALM tool, which is either your jira or any other tool that you're using. So the product owner tends to think, why am I needed? I have another conflict. I have another meeting which has been slotted, which is more important than this meeting or which cannot be avoided. So when a product owner does this, it means the other activities are taking precedence over refinement meeting. Now, this is a frequent event, that's a frequent thing that's happening. A Scrum Master must ensure the product owner is available in a backlog refinement meeting, just to show the emphasis of a product refinement meeting. The other times, the product owner thinks that, okay, since I have captured the backlog, since I've created the sprint goal, the team is smart enough to understand the stories, so they can handle the refinement meeting. Yes, the team could be smart enough, could have all the necessary information around the user stories, and you might have your tech leads also. But when you're brainstorming with all the team members, including the QAs, including the tech leads, there'll be certain areas which the product owner would not have thought when writing the user requirement or the user story. At that point in time, certain other areas might come to light. So you would want certain modifications on the user story. Now, without the product owner, the team is lost. The team might wonder, okay, should we add this? Should we add another user acceptance criteria? Can we park this? Make a decision later. So this is time consuming. This is not a right practice. I mean, once or twice it's okay, but in an exception scenario, but this should not be continued. In a backlog refinement meeting, we must ensure product owners available in spite of having the sprint backlog ready. Again, product owner having a conflict, slotting other meetings around a backlog refinement is not a right practice. And this is a scenario that I often see in many of the teams. Second one, tech leads availability in the refinement meeting. Yes, most of the times they're there. They're there to help the development team members, guide them along the right direction. But then if the tech leads are missing, again, the same thing applies. One or two scenarios, exception scenarios, it's okay. But the practice of not having tech leads, if it continues, it is an anti-pattern. We would want development team to think around the user story differently as well. We would want to encourage them. Now we don't want the tech leads to handhold our development team or spoon feed the development team all the time. But certain areas like frameworks, implementation, or when you're bringing a new architecture, or if you want to emphasize on some coding conventions that are being missed, you want to be there. You want the tech leads to be there to give these directions. Yeah, if they're not there, again, you would have to capture these questions and have a separate discussion, which is also possible. But ideally, when everybody is there, it's good to have such kind of conversations. I mean, it's good to have tech leads guiding the team. Another role, QA leads also. Now, we encourage QAs to plan the test cases well in advance. Once the product backlog is ready, once the sprint backlogs are ready, and the upcoming sprint backlogs, user stories and goals are decided or planned, captured and planned, it gives an opportunity for the QAs to plan the test cases for the upcoming sprint. We do not encourage the test cases to be written during the running sprint for the current sprint. The whole point is to bring visibility. So the visibility of user stories is there. Enough preparation from the QA must be there in terms of test cases for the test case preparation of the user stories. Again, they would want to plan their automation. They would want to plan their regression during the backlog refinement. I'm not saying when it should be done, how much should be done, but then at least when the user stories are being taken up and discussed, the presence of QA leads will give some kind of clarity around other activities apart from implementation of user stories alone. So it's good to have QA leads also in the backlog refinement. I'm just emphasizing the word good to have, not saying must have. Scrum Master. Now, this is something really interesting. Many times Scrum Masters come to me and ask me, Sudha, why is that you want us to be there in a backlog refinement? I've opened the meeting. Can I drop off? Can somebody else take care of closing the meetings? They're already self-organized, mature team. Can't they do that? Then the answer is, are you there only to open and close the meeting? If that's what the Scrum Master's understanding is, then it is wrong. That's an anti-pattern. I would not want Scrum Masters just to open the meeting, say hello, hi, greetings, and then drop off and come back again at the end of the meeting and close the meeting. No. That's a clear anti-pattern that I see in majority of the teams, I must say. And the Scrum Masters should be there throughout the meeting, not just to open and close the meeting, not just to facilitate. Facilitating is not just opening and closing. They should also be focused on the discussions that are happening in the refinement meeting. Most of the times, I tend to see Scrum Masters moving away from the laptop during a refinement meeting because they're not part of the meeting. Now, yeah, they don't understand the product or they don't understand majority of the times the technical areas. So there are chances of these guys moving away. Now, I don't say you should not move away, but then uh, paying attention to what's happening is really important. Scrum Master should pay attention to what was happening in the refinement meeting so that he or she understands that the team is focused on the user story that is taken up for discussion and they're not digressing elsewhere. They're focused on the sprint backlog of the upcoming sprint and they're not talking about some other things. They're focused, they're not arguing or spending too much of time on a particular user story, figuring out or solutioning the user story. So when a Scrum Master watches out for all of these, the Scrum Master ensures the intent of the backlog refinement meeting is in place, is intact. Yeah, avoiding digression, staying focused, reducing the arguments, and encouraging positive discussions. This is the role of a Scrum Master in a refinement meeting. Yeah, if the Scrum Master is only opening up and closing the meeting, that's big anti-pattern. That's a bad practice. Also, Scrum Master's availability smoothens, makes team members' life easier during a refinement meeting. Why, you may wonder? Maybe making some notes, helping out, managing the jira or the ALM tool, moving things around, moving user stories into other sprint backlogs on the ALM tool. All these things can be done by a Scrum Master. Yeah, Scrum Master is a support for the team, leader of the team. So he's there just to open and close. It doesn't sound really good. So if you enjoyed this video, if you found the anti-patterns around the roles of a backlog refinement meeting interesting, please like, subscribe our YouTube videos of Benzene. We also have a lot of articles and blogs written by us consultants, sharing our real-time experiences in our benzene.com website under the blog section. Please visit, please like our videos, and stay tuned for more such anti-patterns that we see in our transformation journeys. Thank you very much.